Chapter 20. Through Lake Huron. While Paddle was drifting through the Straits of Mackinac into Lake Huron, winter came. The water changed to ice, freezing Paddle to the shore. But men and boys from nearby towns who fished in shanties over holes cut in the ice accidentally freed him with their sleds. Pushed by howling winds, Paddle skated on his copper plate for hundreds of miles over Lake Huron. Lake Huron knew all about canoes, though it had probably never seen one skate before. The Indian tribes that had once lived in this territory had built some of the best birch bark canoes in America. The French had copied the Indians, finding canoes light and easy to carry around beaver dams and river rapids, or for portaging from lake to lake when there were no streams. Even today, the canoe is still the best craft for traveling the water trails of the forests. Spring came, and Paddle was 2 years old. His paint, protected by Bill's waterproof varnish, was in good condition, and in winter skating had polished his copper plate like new. The ice cracked into cakes, drifted southward, and carried Paddle along. A young girl on her father's motorboat picked Paddle out of the water of Saginaw Bay one day in early summer. She read his message and scratched, Bay City, Michigan, after Gary, Indiana. Then she planned a great launching, but her father read, Return me to water in good place to continue voyage to sea, and decided that the currents were too slow in Lake St. Clair. So Paddle, sitting comfortably on a little girl's lap, completed his crossing of Lake Huron and was on his way to Detroit. Chapter 21. Paddle reaches Lake Erie. As the motorboat chugged lazily down the St. Clair River, with Michigan on one bank facing Canada on the other, it passed farms and summer cottages and came to marshy little Lake St. Clair. Here the water was so shallow that buoys with lights and clanging bells had to mark out a course for ships. After crossing this lake, the boat entered a wide river and stopped at Detroit, and here Paddle's plate received another name. The girl's father, who worked at one of the Detroit factories, took Paddle to his office. When one of his friends who had a museum filled with curiosities of the Great Lakes offered to buy him, the girl's father shook his head. No, he said, someone who had faith in currents, in winds, and also in people, put thought and careful work into this carving, and I'll not be the one to stop his paddle to the sea. Paddle stayed a week in Detroit. Ore boats unloaded their red ore beside the factory that would turn it into thousands of bright new automobiles. At the end of his week, Paddle again went in the motorboat with the girl and her father, this time down the Detroit River. Ferry boats running between the United States and Canada chugged across their bow. Canoes with picnickers, rowboats with silent fishermen, passenger steamers noisy with dance music passed by. Big buildings dropped astern, green fields replaced them, and a Coast Guard station, trim and white, and islands with lighthouses. Then the shore dropped away and the motorboat stopped. There was a splash. Here's Lake Erie, paddle to the sea, cried the little girl. Goodbye and good luck. Chapter 22. Paddle takes a great fall. In the cities along the coast of Lake Erie, Paddle traveled in smoke and steam, dust and heat, naked flame, and the clanging noises of commerce. There were tall black towers against red flashes of fire, tons of white hot metal lighting the insides of steel mills, mountains of black coal, ridges of red ore, and controlling it all, men who seemed to run around without reason, less important than ants. Ships were everywhere, loaded, empty, silent at the docks. Ships in the harbor drawn by fussy fat tugs. In the rivers, hooting for drawbridges to let them through. By the time Paddle reached Buffalo, New York, he had added to his plate Toledo, Sandusky, Cleveland, Ashtabula in Ohio, Erie in Pennsylvania, and Port Colborne in Canada. Steel workers, mechanics, engineers, sailors all kept him a while and sent him on. His photograph got into the newspapers and went north with the boats. Bill at Whitefish Bay saw the picture and sighed with satisfaction. Mate Maloney saw it and sighed with relief. The girl's father framed it for his office. Paddle missed the paper excitement for some real excitement of his own. Ships take the Welland Canal around Niagara Falls. Paddle didn't. "Mother, look! A little man! In a boat!" a child screamed. She stood with the usual crowd of people gathered this bright summer day in the beautiful Canadian park overlooking the falls. Everyone jumped and came running, just in time to see Paddle plunge over the green edge and drop down, down, down.